Well, maybe I should do a drum roll or something like that. Oh man, I think I need to turn my Steam off. That's Connor, by the way. What was Connor playing? Actually, no. I'm gonna leave his privacy to him. Y'all know what Connor was playing. Hello, everybody. I think I might have just woken up Austin. I kind of have a lot of energy today. I'm very excited to be recording a new episode. Glad that the visuals look better. Glad that the audio looks good. Sounds good. Sorry that the audio is kind of off on that last pod. Thanks for living through it if you guys lived through it. But welcome to episode 4 of the podcast series. This episode is going to be a little bit longer than the last ones were. I'm still going to try and break down some global politics for you guys. I'm going to update you guys on what's going on in the Middle East. Give you a little bit about Trump, a little bit about Biden, a little bit about the special elections that are going on. Going to talk about Taiwan. And then I got a few fun things for you. I've got a special guest coming on in this podcast. So if none of the world politics is your thing, please stick around or just go ahead and scroll. I'll have the little things down in the YouTube, where you can scroll and see the chapters. But I have a special guest. My friend Renato is coming on. He's going to talk to us about cybersecurity, the importance of cybersecurity, and protecting your passwords. That's going to be really fun. But I've got a really fun episode for you guys today, so stick around, stay tuned, and of course, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Go ahead, let me know down below what you guys want to know more, want to know more about, and kind of nervous. I got so much stuff to talk about. Okay, without further ado, let's just get right into it, guys. So we're covering the heavier topics first. So like I said, if this isn't for you, go ahead, just skip on. So, starting off, last week, Iraq and Lebanon asked the U.S. to leave its country. Iraq specifically said thanks to the U.S. for helping them out with ISIS, but they said that the threat of war outweighs the threat of ISIS that still, lingers around in Iraq. And so the main reason that the U.S. was even in Iraq in the first place was after 9/11, we put forces in Iraq to help them counteract the reinsurgence of ISIS, and so now they're saying that they don't really need that help because there's so much craziness going on in the Middle East, and I'll expand on that point. Another point is that there is fighting between Hezbollah, which is a Iran-backed militant group in southern Lebanon, and southern Lebanon is also Israel's northern border, and so they've started fighting with Israel. Not started, it's been going on, but fighting is now escalated, and so now Lebanon has also asked the U.S. to take its forces out of Lebanon as well. So we'll see how the U.S. responds to that. They haven't put out a statement to say that they will, because it's still their utmost importance to protect Israel, being Israel is one of our biggest allies from the U.S. So we'll see what happens there. In other news, last week, and this is going to start moving into just kind of the Middle East, as it's just kind of it's destabilizing. I'm not going to say kinda, it is. The Middle East is absolutely just destabilizing. So the U.S. and the U.K. and some of our foreign allies, last week on Thursday, January 11th, 2024, we struck 60 targets in Yemen. Yemen is the location that the Houthi rebels are out of. The Houthi rebels are the Iran-backed militant group that have been bombing international trade vessels that are carrying stuff like oil and goods and produce and grain and stuff like that. So when you're going to the grocery store and your prices are up at the grocery store and your prices are up at the pump, it is because the Houthi rebels are continuing to bomb and fire missiles at these international trade vessels going through the Red Sea. So the important thing about that is because the Biden administration has recently re-added the Houthi. This was today, Thursday. The day I'm recording this is Thursday, January 18th. They just added them back onto the list yesterday. Okay, so it's going to take 30 days for it to go into effect, but pretty much it means that they can't use any U.S. banks. They can't come into the U.S. at all. Anyone who's who's a part of the Houthi rebels. So the reason why they took them off the terror list was so that because the White House wanted to get aid into Yemen. So I completely understand. I sympathize with the White House. I think that they did the right thing to remove them from the terrorists temporarily to try and help Yemen. But now that their attacks have escalated and that they literally don't give a damn. Okay, the U.S. and the U.K. attacked 60 targets. 60. Okay, they attacked like radar. They attacked missile silos. They attacked tanks. Like they were trying to cripple the Houthis' ability, and they literally just didn't give a damn and kept attacking. They said that they will keep attacking trade ships. So we're gonna see what's happening there. But that's the update in Yemen. Do I want to move to Iran yet? Yeah, I think we're moving pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and move to Iran. So I know I've been talking about the Houthi rebels backed in Iran, and also Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels in Yemen who are backed by Iran, and also Hezbollah, who is another terrorist militant group that is in Lebanon, also backed by Iran. But let's talk about Iran themselves, because they're kind of destabilizing too. Not kind of, they absolutely are. So, a little history lesson. Who, what, when, where, why. It's going to be the new structure that I'm going to try and break down for you guys. Get a little bit more, factual, a little bit more historical up in here. So, it's called Balochistan. Okay, so pardon me if I'm butchering this. I really tried my best. I looked up the Google Translate thing. We were like the Google pronunciation thing where it pronunciates it for you. So, the Balak tribe, they are a tribe, a distinct cultural group. Okay, and they lie in a region that's in between Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. They have a history of terror and violence. Okay, them specifically, but it's not what you think. They have a history of terror and violence. Like if you look them up, like that's what's going to come up. But it's because they're a distinct cultural group that's like nuzzled in between Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan. And so for years they have wanted their independence. And so what's going on there? What happened last week was. In Balochistan, in December, the Jaish al-Adil attacked Iranian police in Balochistan because they feel that they are left out and ignored and desire their own sovereign state from Iran and Pakistan, which are currently about to go to war with the West. So as tensions are boiling over with the West, it's starting to destabilize the Middle East. Specifically this region, which has not been peaceful, but has been suppressed into being not an issue. You see what I mean? But as it's destabilizing in Israel and Gaza, it's causing issues now for Iran internally. And so how did they respond? On the same day that the U.S. and the U.K. dropped bombs in Yemen, they shot missiles over into Pakistan, and then Pakistan shot missiles back into Iran. And so it looks like they're shooting missiles at each other, but really they're bombing this place called Balochistan, which is this cultural region in between Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran. And so, according to Pakistani news reports, according to Pakistani news reports, 4 children died in the retaliation attacks against the Jaish al-Adil. And by the way, Jaish al-Adil translates to Army of Justice. And so that, once again, that's the army in Balochistan who is trying to stand up against the Iranian police. And so that's just all the facts. Okay. What do I think for a second? It's terrible. Okay. You've got this distinct cultural group who wants to be their own sovereign nation because of all the fighting that Iran is going through. Iran and Pakistan, because they're allies, are going through right now. And so it kind of has the CIA written all over it, if you ask me, to make Iran look really bad, like they're bombing their own people, because they are, honestly, um, because it's a distinct militant group that's trying to have its own sovereign nation be created inside of Iran's borders, which, if that was in the U.S., we'd call that a coup, and we'd have the National Guard swarming it instantly. I mean, it wouldn't even last. So, Iran's definitely got a problem on their hands here, and that's the reason why I say it has the CIA written all over it, because the CIA pays these people to cause a problem in Iran. Then Iran looks really bad on the international stage, bombing its own people. So just keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on Balochistan, on that word, on that name, Balochistan. Let's just see how this develops. Once again, this happened early last week, so this was early this month, Thursday, December 11th. Iran responded by launching missiles into Pakistan, targeting, and this is according to U.S. and foreign intelligence, terrorist hideouts, and what is Balochistan. So let's just see what this develops into, and see if we hear this on CNN, because I feel like this has the CIA all over it. Okay, moving on from the Middle East, because that's all I want to talk about that before I get this video demonetized and I get an email from the CIA. Biden starts his campaign. Okay, so Joe Biden started his campaign on January 5th. He was supposed to start it on January 6th in Philadelphia. Not in Philadelphia, in Bluebell. It's a city outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. But he started on January 5th. Got pushed back because of inclement weather on the 6th. Y'all know that big winter storm that came through. If any of you guys got affected by it, I hope you guys are doing all right. He started his campaign and officially gets nominated, the nomination from the Democratic Party. And why is he campaigning? It's to beat Trump and to maintain, according to Joe Biden, maintain democracy. And a vote for Biden is a vote for democracy and to keep white supremacy at bay. Okay, so I just can't take Joe Biden seriously when he's like, white supremacy is the biggest threat to America, when he was on a podcast with Charlemagne the God and he said, if you don't vote for Biden, then you ain't black. And just kind of ever since then, I was just kind of thinking, okay, so you say that white supremacy is the greatest threat to America, but here you are, literally an old white dude with a corrupt son who's beating the system because it's your DOJ and they're not arresting him. If it was any other citizen, they would arrest him for contempt of Congress, but because he's the first son or the son of the president, he just kind of gets a slap on the wrist. On top of that, they tried to give him an extreme plea deal for federal gun charges and for federal tax evasion charges that we had a whistleblower from the IRS say that he did. So I'm just gonna say no more. Because you, Joe Biden, are the epitome of corrupt white supremacy. And so it's kind of silly to me that he's running on a stance of white supremacy is the greatest threat to democracy right now. Because I'm being honest with you, I don't think it is. I think that we definitely still need a lot of reform in a lot of places. But I don't think that he's a very good example, and I don't think that he should be talking out loud about it, because, like, he's just a hypocrite, okay? So don't talk about white privilege, Joe Biden. That's crazy. Okay. Moving on from that, Trump wins Iowa, because Joe Biden is the nominee for the Democratic race, for the Democratic nomination. There's not much to say in that race. That's just who we have. Okay, so if you're gonna vote, please, even if you're not a Republican, it is so important to have your voice heard. Just go out there and vote in the Republican primary. Once again, even if you're not a Republican, look at the candidates, because if you don't like Trump, here's your chance to stand up and have somebody say something about it. You can vote in the Republican primary for a Republican, and you can still go around in the general election and vote for Biden. Okay, if that's what you want to do, more power to you. But if you don't like Trump, here's your chance to stand up and say something. Okay, because voting in the Republican primary is probably the most important way. Yeah, it's the most important and the number one way that you can have your voice heard this year. If you have been complaining and saying that my voice hasn't been heard, I feel like the system is against me, this and that, vote in the Republican primary. Your voice will be heard because it is a very important primary. Okay, that aside, Trump won the caucus in Iowa. This was Monday, January 15th, so this week on Monday, Trump won by 51%, with Ron DeSantis following with 21% and Nikki Haley with 19%. Vivek Ramaswamy coming in with a whopping 7.7%. After the Iowa caucus, he also dropped out of the race and endorsed Trump. He said that the numbers in Iowa told him something, which I agree. When you get 7% of the vote, it's your time to say, hey, let me give it to somebody else. Okay, so he gave his nomination to Trump, or gave his endorsement to Trump. But what did these numbers say? With Trump winning 51% of Iowa, it shows that he's definitely going to be the front runner. But DeSantis with 21% and Haley with 19% is still encouraging to them. It makes especially DeSantis feel like he has a chance in some of these other states. And let's not forget the history about Iowa. So Iowa has six electoral votes, okay, but it is known to be a battleground state. In 2020, Trump beat Biden with only 53% of the vote, okay, and Biden had 44.9, okay? So that's a pretty close race in 2020 with 45% of Iowa, or 44.9, basically 45% of Iowa voting for Biden, right? So we could definitely see that again. Iowa does have an older population, right? So they might appeal to Biden. So we'll see what happens there. And let's also remember, in 2016, Trump didn't win Iowa. Cruz beat Trump in Iowa with winning 97% of the vote. So let's just see what happens, because Trump doesn't have the best standing in Iowa. I know that he won by leaps and bounds, okay, but let's just see what happens in other states, because these numbers are still encouraging for Ron DeSantis, not so much for Nikki Haley. But we have some more battleground states coming up, and once again, like I said, this is the most important primary. And so that we've got a lot going on, and we've got a lot standing on this primary. We'll see what happens when we get to some of these more liberal states, like Colorado and like California. I doubt that they're going to nominate Trump from those states. So let's just see what happens. But after Trump won, here's the part that I want to just add in there, because I think it's just kind of interesting. After Trump won, he got his endorsement from Vivek, but left media sources, specifically MSNBC, censored him, saying that we will let you know if there is any news made in that speech, if there is anything noteworthy, something substantive and important. They are doing it again, and they're doing it to themselves, okay? The liberals are literally doing it to themselves. If you want Trump to say that, oh, blah, 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 the race was unfair because I was censored and this and that, and it was election fraud and this and that, and the left is being controlled by the Biden family, then stop censoring him. This is literally censorship, saying if there is anything noteworthy, something substantive and important. That is not up to you to decide. This is a free country, and we have a free media, and it is up to the people to decide on what gets set, on what they filter through their own brains. This podcast is supposed to be an unfiltered podcast for a reason, so you can hear the hard news right to your ear without any bullshit. Okay? I try and give the facts as much as possible, and it's absolutely ridiculous that MSNBC would go out there and censor this and not play this. Like, I don't care. He was the winner for the Republican caucus in Iowa. That's a big deal. Okay, and if you don't like the guy, you need to hear the rhetoric that he's saying, so you can know both sides. You can't censor that. That's illegal. Like, and so if you want Trump to come out here and say that, oh well, it's wrong and da 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 da, and I lost because of censorship, then don't censor him. He did it last time, and he's gonna do it again. They're giving him more playing cards. So like, the liberals, they're doing it to themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot. They're literally giving him fire to burn. Like, I don't know why they would do that, but. Again, another thing is Joy Reid, she's a host of MSNBC, says that Iowa is overrepresented by white evangelicals, and that's why they've nominated Trump. Overrepresented by white evangelicals. Okay, Iowa is a white state, and Houston and Texas is a primarily Latino, specifically Mexican state. So is Texas overrepresented? Is overrepresented by Mexican Christians and Mexican Catholics? I don't get what her point is. Okay, different states have different populations. That's why we have some states vote Democrat, some states vote Republican, right? If they want to vote for Trump because they can relate to him because he's also a white evangelical, then go for it. How can you blame them? That's just blatantly racist. How are you gonna go on TV? It blows my mind. Okay, it literally blows my mind that she can sit up there and say that a state is overrepresented by white evangelicals. How about you go move there? Okay, you go move your family over there and break up the representation and go be a black voice in the community. Because I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to be by them. Why? Because I'm not a white evangelical. I can't relate to their values. So I let them go live their way, and I live my way down here in the South. You go live there. That's all I have to say about that. Vote in the Republican primary, even if you're not a Republican. Shit's important as hell. Staying on elections. We got some special elections coming up in May. Those are going to be really important. You're going to want to vote in those also. Those are going to come up at the time of your primary. The Who, Kevin McCarthy, and George Santos. Let's pull up these two cool cats real fast. Okay, so just gonna pull him up right here, right next to me. So this guy right here from California, he was the Speaker of the House, and then now he's not. Okay, they voted him to not be anymore, and so he resigned. Resigned. Is no longer a speaker. So we have 2 vacancies in the House of Representatives. So we have 220 Republicans, 213 Democrats, and 2 vacancies. Okay, that is right now as of January 16th. George Santos, this guy. He wasn't the Speaker of the House, but if you don't know about George Santos, then you need to look up a whole other podcast about him, because this guy's really funny. He has a lot of sexual misconduct and a lot of charges up against him, and before he was even charged, they were just like, yeah, no, let's get him out. Plus all that Botox, look at him. His cheeks look amazing. Damn. But yeah, these 2 guys, 2 vacancies. One left, one got voted out. But those 2 vacancies kind of leave us in a weird place. So it's not going to be enough to flip the power of the House midway. You know what I mean? Once we fill those vacancies from the special elections. But it is kind of crazy that we have 2 vacancies right now. Other than that, though, there are 38 House incumbents not running for re-election. So coming up in November, all 354? I think it's 354. I think all 354 seats are up for re-election, and 38 of those House incumbents are not running for re-election. Why? It's because they say that they're fed up with the popularity politics and don't want to run again. It's 435. Sorry, I had it on my sheet. All 435 seats are up for re-election. And another just fun statistic to throw out there, in the last census, California lost 1 seat, going from 53 to 52, and Texas gained 2 seats from 36 to 38. So Texas has 38 seats that are up for re-election. So that's the number of people who aren't running again. That's kind of crazy. All of that would basically mean that all of the representatives from Texas are fed up and don't want to run again. to put that into perspective. That is 38 of 435. Eek. Capitol Hill, burning it down. Or it's burning itself down. Staying in the election cycle, the last thing, and we're going to start moving to a more positive note. And actually, let me text Renato to see if he's ready. You ready? And 3. Okay, so he should be ready in a second. I think he might already be in the waiting room. If he's not, I think he should hop in a second. But staying in the election, the last thing of global politics that I'm going to cover, actually that's a lie. I have one more thing, but it's funny though. I promise it's funny. Okay, we're done with all the gruesome stuff. If you cut to this part, this is the part that I said is fun now. Okay, Li Ching-de. I'm sorry if I butchered that. He was the old vice president of the Democratic Party in Taiwan. He won the presidential election last week. And he pledges to have a more aggressive stance versus China and increase military action with the U.S. This is a good thing because China has posed a real threat to Taiwan. They've moved more ships into the into the Taiwan Strait, and so it's the U.S.'s similar to Israel. It's in the U.S.'s best interest to protect Taiwan, and so with Taiwan, with the Taiwanese people coming out and electing a democratic president, it's a huge win for them. It's a huge win versus China. I was really worried that China was going to have some severe election interruptions and corruption here, but everything worked out for the Taiwanese people, and we have 4 more years of democracy in Taiwan, so that's awesome. And I think Renato is ready, so we're going to go ahead and bring him in, and we're going to let him talk for himself on what he's covering. But I've got a great segment coming up for you guys. Hope you guys are still sticking around, and for anybody who's watched this whole thing so far, I really appreciate it. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring Renato in here. What's up, Renato?
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, man? How you doing today?
Good, good. Just a good day. What about you?
Not too bad. Well, I'm real glad to have you on here. Let's see, let's
Yeah,
get
thanks
it
for
going
having
on the
me.
grid. Of course, man. Thanks for giving us your time. So, I kind of already told everyone. I spoiled the plug that I have you on here to talk about cybersecurity, a little bit of email security. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give the mic to you, and you have the floor, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to come on here and tell you guys kind of some of the stuff that will go on with kind of the cybersecurity space and in relation to everyday life, like how we can, how people are trying to hack into emails or through SMS, and kind of some of like tips and tricks to kind of help you be able to identify those suspicious emails a lot better. So I'd like to start off by here. Let me go ahead
Yeah,
and share my
and he
screen.
he shared a little bit of this stuff with me earlier, or not earlier, but the other day. He shared one of these apps with me. It's some cool stuff. So definitely stick around to the end when he shares some of those apps and stuff like that. It's some real practical usages that you can like download like right now and today to be able to increase your cybersecurity. So see what you got going on here.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to start off with this article from the FTC that talks about how to recognize phishing attempts and kind of some of the indicators that you'll see. And so, when you get a suspicious email, it might just be something like a login attempt. Like here, they have an example saying like it's like they spoof kind of a website or a fake website to
Mm-hmm.
make it look like it's a genuine email that you would get from like here at Netflix or something. And they always try to create this sense of urgency. So like it says your account is on hold here. That's because they want you to feel like you have to interact with this email right now. They don't want you to stop and think or go to the website itself. So,
Mm-hmm.
first tip, the best thing you can do is always go to the website itself. So, if they're saying like there's a login issue or change your password, what I would recommend rather than going to the email is to actually go to the website itself
Okay.
and change your password there. Because if you click on a link on an email, then it's like free reign. Your antivirus might catch it, but it might not. And it's just kind of,
Is it really
you want to
that
stay away from
fast from
that.
just one link on an email?
Yeah, so actually some links on an email can like it can be like an email link to download something.
Mm-hmm.
So, using this example on the screen right here, this update account now,
Yeah.
it could it appears like that, but they embed the link so that when you it says like a different word. But then when you click on the link, it maybe actually links to a file download or something like that that'll get on your computer.
Yeah. So first
And
thing
some
is,
sort of malware.
if you're suspicious, just go to the website. Do not even
Hmm.
mess around or click on the email because I feel I've done that sometimes, and I've like clicked on it out of curiosity and just been like, oh well, I don't know if it is or isn't, but I'm just gonna click on it and try and see, and then it brings me to some random website and I close it real fast. But even that can kind of get me in trouble.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on like your browser settings. Like some of y'all might have like default settings. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
browsers have moved away from automatic downloads, but if you ever tried to like download a software from a website, you know how you just click the download button and
Yeah,
it'll automatically install or download.
it's like
Same thing
that.
here. It's like clicking like that link, right? So you want to be safe with that.
Wow.
There's like a lot. There's these three social engineering principles: trust, context, and emotion, and these are kind of ways how people can try to trick you into falling for their like malware or suspicious
Yeah.
whatever. And so like trust, they try to establish trust by a suspicious domain, or sorry, not a reputable domain.
Something
So like,
familiar.
like Target or something like that. They might send you an
Mm-hmm.
email saying they're Target, and then like this one, for example, Netflix.
Yeah.
It says,
Or Hulu or
it's from
Disney
Netflix.
Plus.
Yeah, something like that. And
Or like a
so first thing you
coupon
want
from
to do.
Macy's. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let me pull up this picture. This is like a spam email I got, but
Okay.
something you can always check. This is on Gmail specifically, but Outlook has the same thing. Whatever,
Mm-hmm.
mail server you use, should have this where you can kind of click this drop down menu, and then you'll see the from address. They can
Okay.
customize this to whatever. So I might say like Target or something here, and then the reply to is what their actual domain is. So tapwithus.com. So here it matches, but sometimes they won't, and that's like a big red flag that it's like a suspicious email
So the
because they're trying to
from
impersonate
email.
someone
So this
else.
is so we're on trust right now. Okay. So they're trying to
Hmm.
establish trust by making the from email say Target U.S. Enterprises or something like that, something real believable. But then the reply to might be uh, Target123.com fake 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 for for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so
Got
it
it. Got
and
it.
so it there are like really complex ways of kind of spoofing a website or like um doing some sort of bait where they have a website layout that they
Mm-hmm.
steal directly, like they steal the website code
Yeah.
from a reputable site and then they just plaster it onto like their own website server.
To
Maybe
keep
they buy a
themselves hidden.
domain name that looks similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of Gmail, it might be like GRN ale, like so it looks like an M. So
Ah, I
something like
see.
that.
So when you
So
read it fast, you read at gmail.com, but really it's
mhm.
target services at gmail.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, so pressing that drop down. So that's another thing. If you're kind of suspicious, press that drop down and okay, for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's trust.
Then the second one is context. So they always try to have like a personalized message. A lot of times when you sign up for a website, nowadays there's a big thing about people selling your data.
Okay.
And so websites will do that, and sometimes they don't always do it in the most ethical ways. Sometimes they'll sell it to, people who are known for spamming people or trying to like fish them. And
Okay.
so that's why sometimes even like in a suspicious spam email, they'll have your name, and you're like, well, how do they know my name? It's because
Yeah.
some website you signed up for, they sold your data to them, and now they have like your name, and so they try to personalize it that way.
But isn't that illegal?
Or um yeah, I mean,
But
or
like
which? No, wait,
selling
which part? Which
selling
part?
selling
Sorry.
your information without your
Oh,
permission.
okay. Well, yeah, no. So here's the thing. Here's the workaround. It's like, I know most of us. I know, uh, a lot of us just don't like read that really long privacy policy you agreed to,
Ah, accept
and
all.
almost always, yeah. Sorry, I thought
Okay.
you meant the hacker thing. Yeah, the spam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
I see
hacker
what you
thing is
mean.
illegal, but they can sell your data legally because you
S-
agreed to it in the
So
privacy
should I be
policy.
pressing accept or not accept on those cookies?
There are things that you can do to like block cookies. I know this website I use called Vivaldi. or this
Okay.
web browser I use called Vivaldi. It blocks trackers for me. There's, some other secure ones, or like Firefox. There's this thing called Ice Wolf, I think is what it's called, and it's like a
Mm-hmm.
more secure version of Firefox. They're kind of more obscure web browsers, but Chrome, Microsoft Edge, they all kind of keep cookies for you.
Mm-hmm.
But cookies aren't necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you go to a website and you add something to your cart and then you leave and then you come back, it'll save that in the cart for you. So that's kind of like the original purpose of cookies.
Mm-hmm.
But um,
Kind of now
well,
the tail
yeah.
end of it is they can get your information as well, some of your more private information, and sell that off.
Yeah, because I mean,
Uh,
data is like a big kind of you can make a lot of money selling big data, kind of like
yeah.
doing a lot of data collection and selling that. Um, so
Okay, yeah. I'm
yeah,
sorry. We got sidetracked. We're trying
well,
to
off
second.
topic. No, no, no. Yeah, so context. Another reason. There's this thing called smishing, which is SMS phishing. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. There's an article by Casper Sky. You can just do a quick Google search, smishing.
Okay.
It's essentially the same as phishing, where someone tries to impersonate another thing and gets you to click on a link or something for a malicious website or some malware.
Right.
And so here are like these three principles, right? Again, we'll get to in a second, but some like the typical smishing attacks. One that I've gotten a lot actually on my phone is like they're saying your USPS package did not arrive. Like
Yes,
they
that one
need
was
your
huge over
confirm
the
your location.
holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's ordering stuff for Christmas, so everyone's expecting packages. So you get a text message like that, you give it an actual read because it could be legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
But again, always check the links. Like on the text message, I know I got one from like UPSS or something like that. Like some kind of, it's supposed to imitate UPS, but it's not actually.
Mm-hmm.
So you would click on that link and then enter your information, and they would be able to log that information, and now they have your address or whatever they want to
Mm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
hmm Yeah, so that's like combining context with trust right there because they're impersonating USPS
Because
in that
they're
way.
using a reputable seller, but then also they got your phone number from from buying your
Data that was
information.
sold. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, from buying your information offline. Man, that's kind of
Yeah.
scary.
hmm Yeah, and I mean the last way also, like it can be scary when it's happening in the moment, and that also goes into the last one, which is emotion.
Okay.
And so they purposely try to create this sense of urgency with whatever email or text message you're looking at. It's like you need to update your payment details now, your account's on hold, or
Or
whatever.
like if you don't update your shipping now, you're never gonna get your package type deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Those type
Yeah,
of things where
yeah.
it doesn't really like let you kind of sit back and then think about it and be like, okay, let me go to the official website. They try to like get you kind of hot-headed, like you have to make the decision now, and that's kind of how it makes it easier for you to fall for one of these phishing scams.
Okay, so when you
And so
see a phishing or a smishing scam, step one is to look at it and see if they are a reputable person and see if they are a real brand. Okay, so see if they're actually Target, if they're actually UPS, if they're actually Best Buy. Okay, step two is look at the context of the actual thing, of the actual text message, and see if it looks like it's a fake link, or the details of it, or see if it seems like it's a little bit too specific towards you. All right, and then step three is don't fall for the emotional, or don't fall for the what how do you not fall for the like emotion part, right? Because when they're saying like Jared, da 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 da, like when they use my name, like I'm there. So how do
Mhm.
you like prevent yourself from that element? You know what I mean? How do you build that psychology to recognize something like that?
So it's always good to keep in mind that with a lot of these emails or text messages, from an actual sender, they wouldn't expect you to reply immediately. Like you can take
Okay.
a second to think, right? So you should always be
Yeah.
thinking, keeping that in mind, because they're not, because they're emailing you, they're texting you, you're probably busy a lot of the day, so you're not going to reply immediately. So you have to just
Mm-hmm.
take away that kind of jerk reaction of like wanting to respond to this immediately. And again, employ that. that tip of always navigating to the website to confirm.
Yeah.
Because if I get an email from Netflix, I'm not going to click on the link. No, I want to go to netflix.com and then change my password there or something, just in case it's real or whatever.
So it seems like your number one tip, if you suspect that you're getting fished or smished, fished or smished, take a second to breathe and really read it through before clicking that link.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
Okay.
kind of the thing. I think you can also hover the link and it'll pop up what URL it's actually going
Mm-hmm.
to. So it might be like renew your password here, and then here's underlined with a hyperlink. You
Mm-hmm.
just hover it, and then you can see what the actual link is and read very carefully what the domain name is, because there's this tool that I'm going to show you here in a second called MX Toolbox
Yeah, go
that if you
ahead.
want to go that extra step, basically here you can do blacklist checks. So there's like other email stuff like an SPF record check, DKIM,
Okay.
DMARC. These are all kind of technical terms you don't have to know. But basically what I want you guys to utilize here is the blacklist check. This isn't the end all. Like, if it clears the blacklist check, that doesn't mean it's not suspicious or whatever, but it can be another kind of tool, another way to tell if something is suspicious. So here I
Yeah.
found a blacklisted domain online. So if I just do like this, suspicious right here, triage, like maybe they might be thinking like they're triage or something like that, but
Okay.
they spell it like that. And it's the domain, like what domain the email came from. So the at whatever.com or .gov, whatever, like that last part, that's what the domain is. And so you
Okay.
pop it in here, you do click on blacklist check, and then see it says
Gotcha.
like you're on a blacklist. And so like here they've been blacklisted. So this is probably some sort of like phishing or spam email.
Okay. And so
Another
so
way, yeah.
do you take the email and then put it into this?
Um, no, I mean there's this thing where you can take the headers and you can analyze the headers and it'll tell you
Okay.
based off of like other stuff, but all you really need to do is just put in the domain, like the
Put in the
email address
domain.
thing,
Okay,
and do
nice,
the
nice.
blacklist check. That's what I would recommend. If there's any links on there that you're suspicious on clicking on, there's this thing called Virus Total,
Okay.
which here you can upload maybe a file. I wouldn't recommend doing the file thing because people can change. Every time you make a change on a file, it'll make a brand new hash or whatever, so it won't be able to detect it as well.
I'm
But
gonna
a
put links
URL,
to these things down in the description for you guys. These are cool.
yeah, cool little tools here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So like on this website, this thing is not actually not like flagged right here, but if you get a URL and a thing that like a redirect link, then you might find it to be suspicious here. You can also
Okay.
search. So if I want to search this and see what other people have posted, like so if I want to do Target, then I'll see what this is like. Whenever you upload a file or whatever, look, there's like people who have these files. This is a malicious file right here.
Yeah.
This too. And you can kind of see like it's detecting, it's kind of technical information, whatever, but biggest thing you should just use is copy paste the link in the URL
Link in the
section here,
URL.
and it could indicate that it's a phishing or like some sort of malware link.
Interesting. So if you get a virus on your computer, it always feels like impossible to know what it is and to know what's going on or anything like that. But there's
Hmm.
ways and there's okay, so these are like to numb it down, these are databases of malware and viruses and suspicious links and stuff like that. Like that have
Yes.
history. Got it. Got it.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, um, yeah, you could use either of these tools, probably maybe both if you want to, just
Yeah,
to
if you're
check
really sus.
further check. Yeah, if you're really sussed out about something.
Okay, so
Um,
you have explained to us what phishing is, how to recognize it, how to the three steps to avoid getting phished or smished. You've also helped us. You've given us some real world examples of some ways that we can detect viruses, I guess now, and tell if something's a virus, which I think is really dope. Description down, link down below in the description for you guys. And so I guess what else do you have for us, Renato? Do you have like a way that we
yeah,
can like how can I what can I do today to upgrade my security? You know what I mean?
upgrade your security. So second thing I wanted to talk to you about today was like password security, and so
Okay.
this is going to be tie into a lot of this stuff. Why when people get your credentials and stuff.
Okay.
So essentially, a way a hacker might try to steal your credentials is through intercepting some sort of hash. And what a hash is, essentially, it's like a lock that it's like a key to a lock that your
Mhm.
computer sends to the website or login, so that way your data is encrypted. So
Mhm.
when they catch whatever packet is flying through the internet, it's not like a plain text file where it just says like username this, password this. No, it's like encrypted as like this um 256 or 512 bit
Yeah.
hash. So it's like usually so many characters long or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they can grab the hash, and you know how you only get a certain amount of login attempts before your account gets locked out
Mhm.
on a website? So what they'll do is once they have the hash, they try to take it offline. So instead of trying to put passwords in, guess passwords on the website, they'll guess it in their own kind of environment there.
Okay.
And so if the hash that they create from typing in a password matches the one that they grabbed from you, that means they have your password, right? And so there's actually lists online
Okay.
and on the dark web containing passwords from like data leaks. And so this is why you got to have strong passwords, and you should,
Okay.
it's best practice to have different passwords for each site. Um,
Got it.
this thing I want to show you right now
So
is this thing
is
called Password Monster,
you go ahead.
which essentially you can type in a password. So if your password's like password, it takes 0 seconds to guess your password. But if it's like this, it'll take 2 years. And
Yeah.
so as you can see here, the longer it is, even if it's just random characters, oops, um, it'll take it exponentially increases the amount of time it takes because the way they brute force it is guess and check. A, A, like B, whatever.
Got it. So
That's
to
how they.
help explain this to some of you guys, Renato was explaining this to me the other day because it's kind of beefy. And correct me if I'm wrong here. So when you've got something that's just so the word how, okay, HOW. So like as Renato was explaining, the hashes are they were what 526 and 128.
It was 256 and 512
Yeah,
bits.
so 256 and
Just how
500,
complex it is, basically.
and so that's just how long they can be. And so when you have how and it's 256, right? 256 characters. You can kind of break it down into a third of each of those characters. Is that kind of how it is? A third of each of those characters is each letter.
Um, no, no. So the way it essentially works, sorry, I'm gonna try to explain it better
No, you're fine.
here, where is like the word, each individual word or phrase or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like even if it's only a difference of one letter, it generates a completely new hash. Because and the hash is like this unique, I forget how many lengths, like how long, no. I'll try to find it, but it was like how long is a hash? It's probably like 24 or 36 characters, something like that.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so it's like it's but there's so many combinations of that it has like you can kind of have anything as a password. Um,
I see. And so if you have more characters in something that's only 24 only 24 letters long, that's going to be a lot harder to figure out all the characters from something that's only 24 letters long than from something that's really simple like the word password or from how compared to if it's like exclamation mark ampersand 4235.
yeah, the hacker has a list, right, of all these passwords, and they're
Yeah.
gonna go down each one until they get to your password. So the longer your password is, the longer down the list it'll be. And that's why it's more secure, and it'll just take a ridiculous amount of time. Like if you just have however many years, whatever, one, two, like whatever, it's gonna take them 36 centuries to crack this password. They're not gonna have the time to do that, so they're not gonna like crack your password that way. Um, but this kind of moves into the data leak. So these password lists are commonly used passwords. Like I know password is one of them. 00000, like 8 zeros is one of them. People using these overly simplistic passwords are gonna get guessed immediately. Like if you
Hmm.
have
So it's not only important to have a long password, but it needs to be a long password so they can't just brute force it, but it also needs to be a difficult password so they can't just use passwords from data leaks.
Yeah. You
Got it.
want to have your password not be the same password as anyone else, because if someone else gets leaked, then you're kind of screwed. And that's why the same principle applies to having different passwords on different websites.
Okay.
Because if you password gets leaked on one website, then all of your passwords get leaked essentially.
Okay.
And so that's why you want to have different passwords for each site. And a lot of you may be thinking like you can do that, but then you just have Chrome or Microsoft Edge like save the autofill password for you,
Yeah, because
so
why would I
you don't
write
even have
down
to
all these
remember it.
complicated ass passwords?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
the problem with these autofill passwords that are built into the browsers is that there's actually scripts that are created that have been created to be able to snatch all your credentials like across browsers. So here's like a GitHub repository, basically just code and like explaining it,
Okay.
and it steals like browsers. You can do whatever like this thing, and it just collects all these passwords, and it works on all of these browsers like Chrome, Edge, Brave, Vivaldi, the one I'm using, like Firefox. It works on
So
all of
so
these.
from my depositories, that means from my super secret hidden password vault that's only on Chrome.
hmm
It's not so
they can
super
just run
secret
this
and
code.
hidden.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why you don't want to store it on autofill. That's why you want to have this thing. It's called a password manager. So there's kind of different ones. There's like if you're in the Apple ecospace, if you only have like a Mac, an iPhone, whatever, you can use Apple's password manager. I think it's very secure.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of us that have an iPhone and maybe a Windows PC, there are a lot of options. The one I chose was Bitwarden, and so it's basically an extension on Chrome, which allows you to have one master password. So just make that password really difficult to guess,
Link in
and
description
inside of
real
it, you
quick.
can save all your passwords to to this extension, and it essentially works the same as autofill. You like it'll prompt you to put in the password for you or whatever once you unlock the vault. Essentially, you can kind of add logins manually. So this is kind of what the overlay looks like. I didn't want to open my Bitwarden because I have my passwords on there. I don't want to show it on the video, but essentially you'll have this kind of information type login. You can do like credit cards, whatever,
Okay.
and you put your username, password. You can name what it is, so you can actually search websites. If I want to go to this obscure website, I just type in the name, and then you can type in like the link, and it'll take you there.
Yeah.
And basically, you just kind of cover over to the Bitwarden icon. You click on it, and then it'll show saved passwords right there, and you just click on the save password, and it'll
Nice.
autofill the entries with you. You don't even have to like type it in or anything. Um, and the second cool feature that I like about this is that since you have this one kind of vault that's made by a secure company to keep all your passwords,
Okay.
that means you don't have to go around remembering your passwords if you can autofill them, because it's not only a Chrome extension, it's also an app on your phone. So you can, on different devices, if you're like logging into Netflix on your computer compared to
Yeah.
your phone, you can have Bitwarden remember the password, and it'll autofill it on both of them.
So check for long password. Check
hmm
for complicated password.
Yeah,
So
here
what's
is
the threat of something like this getting? So why would I want to use something like Bitwarden over Google Chrome? It's because of the GitHub
yeah,
script
like
usually.
yeah, browsers are like, there's scripts to grab credentials readily available
Mm-hmm.
online. And so you want to use a service like Bitwarden, Apple Password Manager, something like that that is focused around password security. This is like their niche. This is what they do.
Okay.
And so they put a lot of work into securing your passwords and using kind of protocols that will secure it further.
So even though you're
Um,
putting your eggs all in one basket, you're better off putting your eggs all in one basket with somebody who focuses in password and data security rather than Google, who just so happens to have a thing for you to do
mhm,
passwords. Got it. Got it.
yeah,
Okay. I'm with you.
yeah,
I'm with you. I just wanted to clarify that for the user on like why is something like
yeah,
this
yeah.
important, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And another feature that's really cool is that, since you have that master password, you don't have to remember your passwords. You can actually
Yeah.
generate passwords that are complex and long. You can adjust the length. You can also have special characters, and so like here, you see this is a random password that was generated that you can use on a website,
Hmm.
and no hacker. This password is randomly generated. It's
Put
not
it
going to
into
be
the
on any
password
data
test
leak.
thingy.
Yeah, let me see.
Can you
Let
copy it?
me
Press the copy thing next to the little revolving wheel. That
here.
should be copy.
It's an image, so I have
Oh, okay.
to. Yeah, here I got it though. One sec. Uh, yeah, let me go ahead and copy this and then take it over to the
Heck
password
yeah.
tester. This would take 248 billion years to crack.
Okay, this is just what it can do just instantly, just off of one
Yeah,
password.
this would just like you just generate this and you put this as your like your Walmart password or something,
Hey, so
and you don't have to remember it.
yeah, and for everyone out there who's worried about your Instagram getting hacked, I know some friends, family whose Instagram has gotten hacked. I think they'd be very happy to have a password that wouldn't be hacked in 248 billion years. I love it,
Yeah,
Renato. I love it.
exactly. This is super useful. This is an app on the App Store, on the Google Play Store if you're on Android.
Shout
This
out
is a Chrome
Bitwarden.
extension, so all the Chromium-based browsers like Microsoft Edge, probably Firefox, there's an extension for it. Opera, Chrome, all these big browsers have this extension. And
So
so I would recommend that you generate your passwords
yeah,
here.
nice.
Oh, one last note.
Yeah,
You
go
can
ahead.
also import, so if you already have all your saved passwords on a browser, you can actually export them to like a file and then import that file into Bitwarden and it'll save all your login information that you've already had saved. So you don't have to manually transfer stuff over.
Nice. And then you can
Yeah,
just delete it all from Chrome at one time.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, you guys, you have no excuse. He's laid it out for you. It's super easy. If I hear a single other person in my life who told me that their Instagram got hacked, I'm saying, well, did you listen to the podcast? Me and Renato talked about Bitwarden.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice,
You guys need
man.
to be using Bitwarden
Well,
for your
we
passwords.
are way over time, but I was letting you cook there. I really love what you had to
Apologize. I
say.
feel
No,
like I was
man.
kind of wordy.
No. You're 100% fine. I think that the people really appreciated what you had to say too. That was really practical. And I really appreciate you hitting that practical sense on why that stuff is important. This is something that you guys could go and download right now. And once again, I'm gonna have the links in the description. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna download it. I didn't know that I could import my passwords over. I was actually being lazy and I hadn't done it yet because I didn't know that I could import my passwords over. So now that I know that, I'm probably gonna do it right after this pod. So let's get on this, people. No more excuses for passwords being taken away. Man.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Renato, you sticking around for the last? I got 3 more segments of this.
What do you have? What do you have?
Okay. First segment. This was that piece of This was the piece that I promised everybody was fun. So, the Farmers' Revolt in Germany, 2024. I do not know if you guys know about this. Okay, it's pulled up over it. Who, what, when, where, how. I got you, Renato. Who? The farmers in Germany. What? It's a non-violent protest, okay? When? It started December 18th, 2023. Where? Berlin, Germany, the capital, of course. And why? What we all care about. So, the EU is cracking down on emissions. This has come to Germany. And so some policies surrounding minimum wage and environmental practices, as well as high taxes on heavy-duty vehicles, and most importantly, which brought everything to a tipping point in early January, was a new subsidy that was proposed by the German government, which would cut subsidies on diesel fuel. So the subsidy is, they buy $100,000 worth of diesel fuel. The government gives them 21 cents back per gallon on that. They get like $20,000 back. For farmers, this is a huge deal. This is a huge amount of money. Some of the reports said that it can be anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 per farm, and so this is what I saw this stuff on TikTok, actually, or Instagram Reels, and these farmers took to the streets. They are burning crap. They are throwing manure on the Capitol building. They are blocking roads. They're pissed. And the crazy thing is, you would think that the people of Germany would be mad at them. No, some reporters found that some people in Germany believe that farmers are speaking on their behalf, saying that the government does not care about them because the farmers are outraged and protesters are saying that the German government doesn't care about those who take care of them. Dang. Dang, dang, dang. Germany.
You know how it's going?
So as of today, there are still, these pictures are from 2024. These pictures are from 3 days ago, Renato. So as of today, there are still farmers lining the streets of Berlin. There's still protests going on. The German government tried to settle things by bringing back some of the subsidies and by dialing it back a little bit, but the farmers are still pissed off. And so the issue here is that it's now started a bigger revolt, right? So it started with just them being mad about farming, right? But now it's spilled over into the citizens. The citizens are behind it. The citizens are backing the farmers, and right. So it started with just farmers in these protests, but you see this photo is not just farmers, right? The German people are starting to protest, saying that Germany doesn't care about them. And so, how's it going? Protest in Germany.
Yeah.
Bro, it's crazy because over in the EU, the prices of goods have just, skyrocketed with how much stuff is going on across the whole world. And what I think is interesting is how it started off as a farmers' revolt, and now it's starting to turn into kind of more of a people's revolt. And what I think will be interesting to see is, what do you think if we'll see more of this, in the EU and then even maybe here in the U.S.? What if there was a farmers' revolt in the U.S.? What do you think that would look like?
I think if we saw it in the US, it would be on an even grander scale, just because the US is very like agriculture makes like up
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
yeah, it's like a big part of the country, and so
Especially down here in the South in
yeah.
Texas.
Yeah, you like see a lot of farms. People, it's like it's a job for a lot of people. They own land. They grow products, and as we've seen in the past, like subsidies are important in order to like fuel growth and kind of the economy and like stability or whatever. Because goods, like the cost of goods, will increase because the people who are farming these different types of food and other stuff will.
They have to
Um,
sell their goods at a higher price.
Yeah, they have to sell them at a higher price,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm
and
following.
so I think subsidies are an important part of like stimulating like the economy, at least from the agricultural side.
Yeah, man, I agree. My suggestion to Germany as well is to keep the subsidies in place, make the farmers happy, because ultimately the farmers are who's making everyone happy. And if this happened in the U.S., man, imagine if it happened in Texas. The amount of F-150s we would see on the road. That would.
Yeah,
Bro,
man, it'd be have a big impact.
I don't even want to imagine that here in College Station. That'd be crazy.
Yeesh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on from that. So that was my like kind of comical, kind of funny thing, but kind of serious thing. So it's really serious what's going on in Germany. I don't mean to make fun of it or anything like that, but also at the same time, seeing tractors and stuff like that on the street, on my YouTube reels or Instagram reels, just it drove me, bro. It's like I can't believe this. I got a funny fact for you though, or not a funny fact, like an actual like serious fact. So, have you ever heard how people consider January the longest month of the year?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So,
Is there any
I,
reason?
yeah, there is a reason, and I kind of I wanted to dig into it, and I was like, January, the longest month of the year. Why is January the longest month of the year? And so this is my Jared's fact for the week. Um, so why is January the longest month of the year? I wrote a little thing on it. Here's my sticky note on from my research and what I came up with. There is no actual reason, okay, because January has 31 days, just like every single other day that every single other month that has 31 days in it. So it's not like it has an extra hour or an extra minute or anything like that. But I surmise that it's the return to work and time dilation after December, which has the most international holidays from every single month. You have Christmas and New Year's, right? So, and that's just here in the U.S. I'm not even bringing up, you have Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. And so there's a lot going on in Christmas. There's a lot of travel and stuff like that. So that kind of time dilation, everything speeds up. But then you come back to work, and so everything slows back down. On top of that, you have holiday bills and Christmas shopping, and you had to make that Christmas paycheck stretch all the way until the first or the second week of January, because some people don't get paid until the second week of January, until you go back to work on January, 3rd or 4th, because of New Year's too. So it can really make that paycheck feel like it got, like you haven't got a paycheck in a really long time, making time feel like it's going even longer, right? Because you don't have that much money to spend. On top of that, it can be cold, making some of us feel kind of sedimentary, and like that time inside just kind of like dilates, kind of adding into that time dilation, spending a lot of time indoors. And ultimately, with such little change and so much to do in January, although only having 31 days, it can feel like the longest month of the year. So that's what I surmised, and that's kind of what, from my research, I pulled a couple of people's opinions, but I didn't have any actual facts to reference to, because all that's kind of speculation ultimately. And January is still only 31 days, but it feels like it's the longest freaking month of the year. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're saying it just feels like the longest month of the year, just because December is kind of the most relaxed month for a lot of us.
Yeah,
especially because of the holiday season.
And I think so much of it has to do with that holiday travel, because you spend 3 or 4 days traveling from a 10-day trip, and so much of that time just happens like that on a plane or in a car or something like that. And then all of a sudden in January, you're just at work Monday to Friday. You go home for 4 weeks straight. It feels like, oh man, I want to go back and travel again,
Mm-hmm. It's just a perception. There's no like actual time
No,
change.
not at all. But if you walk around on the streets, I bet we could find 5 people that says that January is the longest month of the year, which it is not. Okay. And then, I guess to round us out real fast, my thing of the week is a Crimson Dawn saber, which, funny enough, I don't actually have with me. I
Rest in peace.
wrote this podcast before I sent my saber away, and I was really hoping that it would be back. But the thing is, I'm shouting out Crimson Dawn this week because they have absolutely phenomenal customer service. If you break your saber, you can send it in for a warranty, and they'll get it fixed for you. They're located here in Texas, so if you're from Texas like us, you can get it fixed really fast. On top of that, they're not too expensive to get a starter saber, about $100 to $120 to get you into it, and that's like a pretty great price to get something that's really durable. Mine broke from, I don't really know, from a battery malfunction. I think the battery overheated and shorted a wire, but for the most part, they're really reliable. And the greatest thing is that if there are any problems, they're located here in Texas. You can ship it in really fast, and I ship mine in on, what's today, Thursday, bro? I shipped mine in on Tuesday. I dropped it off at FedEx. They got it on Wednesday, fixed it, put it back in the mail today, Thursday. I'm going to have it on Friday.
Same week.
Crimson Dawn sabers. Get you a lightsaber. Stuff is super fun.
Link in the description.
Link in the description for Crimson Dawn. Well, that's it. Woo! I had a lot of paperwork to go through today. This was a really long pod. For any of you guys that stuck around to the very end, thank you for listening. I am signing off. Bye. Thanks, Renato, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Peace, guys.